Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues, and we welcome in an old friend.
Our oldest friend, not in chronological age probably, but in number of visits to The Verdict. Mike McCarville holds the record for this being his 20th appearance on The Verdict out of 680 some odd shows. He leads the pack by being this is his number 20th time he's been on the show. We're really pleased he'd come back and talk to us about a number of things. Whenever we see some things happening on the horizon, political or otherwise, we like to rope in Mike and have him come talk to us about it.
Common sense, love getting his take. And today,
sense of humor, and he has to be to come on this show.
We expect he'll have all of that today on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
I've always been a public servant. I've served either tribes, I've served the federal government, or I've served state governments. The law allows me to express my natural desire to advocate. My name is Stephanie Cochran. I am an attorney and I am Chickasaw. Lawyers give their clients, and in my case, tribal governments, a voice. And it's through legal decisions that tribes have been able to accomplish and to regain some much lost footing that they encountered in the late 1800s and the 1900s. When I reflect back on this time in history, I think I'll look at it in terms of opportunity. And I think now we have to turn those opportunities into long-term success for our future generations.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at chickasaw.tv.
People have been talking about energy independence for a long time. It's always been popular, but today it's possible.
We have an enormous supply of oil and gas in the United States, much more than we thought just a few years ago.
New technology, massive new discoveries, largely made by Oklahoma companies. It literally changes everything.
And Oklahoma is leading the charge. Go watch this video to see why. Energy independence starts with us.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we do have the guest that needs little or no introduction, Mike McCarville, our favorite guest here for his 20th appearance. He's a former news director of KTOK and talk show host on the same station. He's the creator of the McCarville Report. He's been an advisor over many years to candidates and campaigns on a number of political questions and issues. He's Mr. Oklahoma Politics, but he's also one of our very best friends, and the guy that imparts more good information to you, our viewers, than anybody else we have. Mike, welcome back. Really glad to have you.
Did you say 20th?
20th.
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 20th. And
I'm out.
We've done, this is show 648. So look at it this way.
Of a century.
We've done 628 shows without you.
I understand. I understand.
But not as well, I might add.
Well, what's on top of your mind right now?
Well, I tell you, there's quite a bit going on.
Yeah, now we're taping this. The government is shut down. It could have changed by the time the show airs, but that's the situation today. And
well, yeah, it is shut down, and that therein lies, literally, I think what we're going to discuss right off the top today. The controversy. I mean, everyone knows what the controversy is. Government shut down. They're fighting over Obamacare and the shutdown and all things related. And the twist for Oklahomans, to me, is the way the arch right-wing people are going after conservative Republican congressmen. Tom Cole, Mullen over in the second district, Langford. I mean, they're going after every one of them. And it's this litmus test idea. If you're not for shutting the government down, if you're not against Obamacare, period, no ifs, ands, or buts, we're against you, and you're a rhino, a Republican in name only. And what gets me, and I've mentioned this phrase before on the show, what gets me about it is the lack of civility being demonstrated on both sides, frankly. But it's name calling, personally degrading things, that I just don't think have any place in the discussion.
Well, and it seems like there's less concern about the government being shut down and more about who can blame the other for the reasons behind it.
Well, absolutely. And you know, I'll tell you somebody who I think is really is in the midst of this and is really out front is Congressman Tom Cole.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tom Cole is adamantly opposed to the shutdown. Well, I mean, those way over on the right are after him with meat hooks. I mean, going after him up one side and down the other. And here we are, it's been going on for a while now, and the end is not in sight. And Obama, the president, says, I'm not going to negotiate as long as you keep threatening shutdown, that kind of talk. I will negotiate if you'll take that off the table. The Republicans say, wait a minute, we take that off the table, we lose our bargaining chip. We're not going to do that. Stalemate. So here we are. And I think the average guy on the street is just disgusted and dismayed and frankly getting madder than hell.
Right. Well, and you know, there is a distance between the way that the federal government interacts with most people's lives. Now,
absolutely.
If the city government shut down, they'd feel it really quickly. You know, they'd turn on the water faucet and nothing would come out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Or they'd wait for their garbage to get picked up.
And you would hear about that.
It wouldn't come. Yeah, but it shows you that, you know, when it's the federal government, that, you know, the numbers get a lot bigger, but the direct impact on most citizens is not apparent, at least for some time.
But I'll tell you, Mick, to me, this really started getting close to home when they started furloughing the workers at Tinker, for example. In my family, 2 grandsons work at Tinker. I mean, you know, and in the extended family, 4 members work out at Tinker. Yeah. I mean, so the impact is pretty, you hear about it constantly. Oh, they laid, you know.
But even that seemed to be political, with the Republican Congress claiming that they had taken care of that funding. And of course, the Democratic influenced Pentagon saying they needed to study the language a little bit more, and in the meantime, they needed to shut down.
And now they've managed to restore the funding, so the furloughs, I guess, are a thing of the past, and people are back at work and they're getting their checks again, or being promised checks anyway.
Well, one thing I've noticed with interest in the last couple of days, and you were correct to point out when we were taping this show while the government's still shut down, is that how the shutdown is now starting to creep out of D.C. and into local folks' lives in ways that perhaps has not been anticipated. The salmonella outbreak, not that it's related to the shutdown, but we didn't have meat inspectors on the job for a number of days, a few days, and all of a sudden there's a huge salmonella outbreak. You got to bring them in to start doing that. There are lots of ways that those folks not doing their job can hurt.
All the ramifications of the shutdown, the one that has me the most outraged, we shut down the parks, of course, barricaded the roads, but along those roads, going into the parks, are private businesses.
Yeah.
They have forced them to close. They have closed. These are private businesses run by private citizens, not government funded in any way. They've shut them down. Where have we gotten in this country when we're going in and by force shutting down private businesses? That's scary.
What's your take on this, changing it, just still on the shutdown, but taking it one step farther? John Boehner says, President Obama says, take it to a vote of the House. If we had a vote in the House today, a motion to reopen the government and don't tie it to insurance would pass. John Boehner says, no, it won't pass. What's the harm in taking the vote and finding out
there's
which
one
one
way
of
to
those
resolve that?
there is?
Take the
pretty
vote.
easy.
But now here, this is politics and political games playing at its worst or best, however you want to describe it.
Right.
You see, in Boehner's mind, I'm sure, to do that, to take a vote, would be caving into Obama, who's demanding a vote. It's just something's got to give.
Yeah.
We can't keep going like this. We've seen this happen in the past, but I think it's worse this time because the acrimony is worse and the lack of civility is worse than it has been in years past when this has happened.
Yeah, what's your sense of the popularity of Obamacare in Oklahoma?
Not very. I don't think it's very popular.
Does it reflect the popularity of the president? Is it so directly related to the president?
In a way, I think it is, Mick. You know, and that's an interesting point you bring up. We've had local polls now, and a local poll, and national polls, period, plural, that show that Obamacare is not popular in Oklahoma, but people here do not want the government shut down. National poll, excuse me, reflected the same results. But yet there are people here in the state going after Cole and Lucas and Langford and Mullen and all the congressmen saying that everybody wants the governments to stay shut down. Well, do we believe the polls?
Normally.
Good point. Let's take a break. Mike McCarville is our
Excuse
guest.
me. He said with a sneeze.
He said with a sneeze, and we'll say Gazert.
Blame it on my allergies, Mick. Yeah.
Right when Mike gets back. We'll see you in a little bit.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mike McCarville is our guest. We want to talk about the Tulsa's mayor's race, which is coming up. Now, as I know too well, the Oklahoma City mayor's race is not till spring, but Tulsa's mayor race is going on right now. The election's coming up in November, and it's
November the 12th.
hot and heavy.
And boy, it is hot and heavy. The big question right now that knowledgeable observers are asking is, how much money will Kathy Taylor spend to try to take out the incumbent, Dewey Bartlett? She's on record. She's already spent $1.6 million of her own money. I think she's at about, overall, knowing what I know, she's at about $2 million. We've got 6 weeks left. She could easily top 2.5, 2.6 million of her own money. Now, what's going to be interesting is when the votes are counted,
that's on a local race.
How much per, a mayor's race, how much per vote of her own money is she going to spend in this campaign? I mean, it's astronomical. She spent 1.5 in one of her first race for mayor years ago, and everybody thought that was an astronomical sum.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's no
and
question.
This is much more than
and
that.
in a sense, it's kind of like two incumbents because she was the mayor for one term that ended 4 years ago.
That's right.
Dewey Bartlett, the son of the former governor, has been the mayor the last 4 years, and so now they're running against each other. It is now nonpartisan, although people in Tulsa are very knowledgeable and know that one's a Republican and one's a Democrat. So their first nonpartisan race seems pretty partisan.
It is, and it is. Clearly it is, in my mind. And it's one of those deals where the campaign has been, it's one of those, it's almost like it's in stutter steps. It goes real hot and heavy, and then it's cool for a while. And then it's real hot and heavy. They've had four forums, so-called forums, and the last, one of the recent ones was the League of Women Voters Forum, and the mayor caught some flack because he bypassed it to go to a Republican event honoring former President George Bush. And they've got 4 debates scheduled, I think in the last, literally one a week for the last 4 weeks, which should be very interesting. Now these two have gone at it pretty good. and they've each got, you know, problems during their terms as mayor. Bartlett, for example, one of his first couple of years is the constant fighting with the council up there. The city council, I think, left a bad taste in a lot of mouths, and he's had controversy over green waste collections and all that good stuff, as mayors sometimes face problems. And going back to Taylor's administration, she had questions about ballpark funding and a controversy over the financing of an airline deal. So they've all got this stuff that's kind of boiling in the background. Now, in my mind, none of that has really taken hold. To me, it's coming down to a personality contest, and I think right now, I think if you took a vote right now, it'd be a dead heat. I think it's just
wow.
Well, you know, there was a primary between 3 candidates.
That's correct.
And Christensen, the candidate who was eliminated at that point, has failed to endorse either of the other candidates.
Yes,
so
and held a news conference to announce he wasn't going to do that.
that might be
yes,
impressive.
Yes, it might be, yeah.
But in a sense, Mike, that's your undecided voters. But
exactly.
how passionate are they going to be to vote in any way, because they weren't inspired about those 2 candidates
not
the first
very,
time?
and a lot of them won't even vote. Maybe.
Well, so if they don't vote, then that brings that undecided, you know, back.
Well, I think here's the deal.
small
In the
people.
June 11th primary, Taylor got 42%, Bartlett got 34%, and Christensen's had whatever he had. So in my mind, the undecided right now, and I've done a lot of races in Tulsa and Tulsa County, the undecided is probably 5 to 8%. And that's what they're spending all this money for, is to reach that 5 to 8% of the undecided out there.
So that dollars per vote figure is going to be huge.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What's your sense historically at Tulsa's mayor's races? Do you have any opinions that go back to
I've been through a few
Inhofe?
of them. Yeah, I was involved in Jim Inhofe's campaign in 78, in 80, and in 82, the 3 successes, and in 84 in the loss. And in 84, I always took care of the numbers on election night. The election returns, took precinct by precinct, analyzed them. In 84, when we lost, the first heavily Republican precinct that came in had Inhofe at 57%. And we knew we needed 60% at least out of those heavily Republican precincts to win. And I told him, and I told his campaign manager, we've got a problem. No, surely we don't. The next precinct came in, 56%. Voila, he lost. Bartlett's challenge is to get into the 60s in those heavily Republican precincts. Can he do it? I don't know.
Has the campaign turned negative?
You'd say so, and I think it's going to get more so as we close out here. Yeah, there have been mailings and comments and that kind of thing, but it hadn't turned, I wouldn't say nasty, but yeah, it's been pretty negative.
And high turnout, low turnout, does that help one candidate or the other, or can you tell?
I would think low turnout would help Bartlett. All depends on how good a turnout organization he has. But again, you got to keep in mind, I don't know how many staff members Taylor has working, but the way she's spending money's got to be a bunch. So her turnout may be equal to or better than Bartlett's.
Are they?
Who's relying on volunteers?
Are they just loading up the TV?
Oh yeah,
airways,
TV and radio, direct mail.
Yeah,
I'm sure there'll be calls, knocking doors, people out knocking doors.
Yeah. Are there any significant endorsements coming in?
Well, I mean, not nothing out of the ordinary, nothing you wouldn't expect. In other words.
So you'd expect this Tulsa race this time to be the most expensive in Oklahoma history?
Absolutely, I would, certainly. Oh, yeah. And I think it'll go right down to the wire.
Well, be interesting to watch.
Well, it is interesting to watch.
Looking ahead at 2014,
yes.
What statewide races might be drawing some interest?
Superintendent of Public Instruction.
So Janet Barisi's seat.
That's the one that's going to be the spot on, I think, most contested. You've got 2 Republicans besides her talking about running. You've got a Democrat, at least one Democrat that's already announced.
Is this issue driven? Why
I think the perception is that she's off key, if you will, on education issues, and of course she insists that she's not, as you might expect. It's a matter of how someone operates, how someone administers, and I think the Democrats are coming after her really with guns blazing.
How do you, Mary Fallon seems to a lay observer like me to be pretty much a shoo-in for a second term. I don't know whether she is or not, but it seems as though that she is. How do you ever talk
That's
a
a fair
Democrat?
assumption.
How do you talk a Democrat into running against someone
Well,
that's
you haven't heard any prominent Democrat names, and that's why. They've not been able to talk one into running, or even thinking about it, really.
Do you think an opponent will come forward? We've never had a situation where we didn't have
I
an
can't
opponent.
believe one won't. Now, will it be a candidate of much credibility? Who knows? Again, it's how much of a sacrificial lamb do you want to be for a little name ID?
Well, do you get any, do you look at it in the longer term? I run this time and get whomped by the incumbent, but my name gets out there.
That's what some
and
people
when the
think,
incumbent no longer can run,
I know
next time I'll be there.
There are some people, Kent, who are saying, oh, Jerry Askins ought to run again. Jerry Askins, in my opinion, has no intention of ever running for governor again. She ran her race. She did her best. She's done with it.
Longer term, it's expected that Tom Coburn will not run for
Yes,
re-election again in
yep.
2016. It's not that far
Yep,
away.
yep.
Are people positioning themselves for that race?
Mark Wayne Mullen, the congressman in the 2nd. Possibly James Langford, the congressman in the 5th. Tom Cole, congressman in the 4th. Who knows? Could Jim Bridenstine, the congressman in the 1st. It could be any of them, none of the above, or somebody whose name we haven't mentioned.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Are there any of our sitting incumbent congressmen in jeopardy?
Well, off the top of my head, I would say no. But now, if you listen to those way over on the Tea Party side, yes, yeah, they're all in danger. We're going to get them.
Yeah.
But they've used that ploy in the past, and it just hadn't worked on the legislative level, anyway.
Well, Mullen and Bridenstine were elected with a fairly right-of-the-aisle constituency.
That's true.
Have they been conservative enough to hold that base?
I think they have, but when you say conservative enough, how far right do you go with that?
Well, that's why I'm asking.
And see, I mean, here's the edge of the table, and here's conservative, and over here is off the table. And that's where a lot of these people are, is literally they're so far over that the average person just didn't pay much attention.
Well, are there substantial numbers of those folks that are on that side?
Well, they
or
would
they're
have you
just
think
loud?
so. I think they're very loud and they're very outspoken.
Well, it might be
and
substantial.
they show up at town hall meetings.
In a Republican primary, it might seem more substantial. In that sense.
It could. It could. But you see, their basic problem is a perceptual one. They go around saying that if you don't agree with us on every issue, you're a Republican in name only. Well, now, that's hogwash, and everybody knows it. I mean, I would think every thinking Republican would know it, and hopefully every thinking voter would know it. They're just like Obama saying to everybody in Congress, if you don't agree with me on everything, you're a Democrat in name only.
Right.
And that doesn't work. Drawing those kind of lines never works.
And we just a few seconds left. As far as Republicans lining up for the next presidential race, a lot of people are talking about Governor Christie.
I don't know, Mick. I tell you, I have a hard time getting excited about Christie. Pardon me, Governor Christie. I don't know. I don't know what the lay of the land is.
Well, that'll have to be for show number 21 when we get you back.
By that time,
goodness.
it'll be more like 25.
Yeah, and if we can get you on to 24 shows, we could then run around the clock. We could run a 24-hour marathon of nothing but Mike McCarville appearances on the verdict.
In droves.
The verdict, according to McCarville.
They would be gone.
Kit and I'll be back with a final word, but as always, thanks to Mike McCarville
Thanks, guys. Always enjoy it.
for coming on the verdict. We'll be right back.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I really think people are so unaware of the number of kids waiting just in Oklahoma. And I think if more people knew that those children were out there waiting, I think that just by the way we live our lives and the people we talk to, that maybe we can help encourage adoption from Oklahoma.
You will always be mom and dad. to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. We are wrapping up a show where we visited with Mike McCarville.
Yes, that is a good idea, running 24 Mike McCarville shows in a row. That would be very interesting. And what we could do is set up where Mike was right and where Mike was wrong, and run clips and talk back and forth with him about that. In any event, Tulsa mayor's race is fascinating. Two very strong personalities that have both occupied the position for 4 years only, and now they're head-to-head over there. And I'm sure Tulsa voters getting an earful.
Yeah, and you know, statewide, it seems like the state has gotten more and more conservative, starting in 2008, and then 10, and then 12, and that I'm not sensing any swing back. You know, these types of things tend to swing back through time, and there's evolutions. It still seems like the state is continuing on its conservative march.
Well, there certainly hasn't been any races that we know about that would evidence any swing back.
8 statewide elected officials, though, all Republicans at this point,
Right.
and that is remarkable. And when I'm traveling nationally and reflect on that, you know, people are astonished because, you know, in most states it's a much more even-handed situation, but in Oklahoma the Republicans have their way right now.
Well, we in Oklahoma, we only do things one way, and we do it strong. It's either the best or the worst, but we usually are number one or last in whatever category we're thinking about. Here, the Republicans have really taken a strong position.
I want to give you more information on Mike McCarville. His blog, which is shows great insight into Oklahoma's political scene, is at the McCarvilleReport.com. McCarvilleReport.com. Check out Mike and you'll enjoy it. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next week on The Verdict.